So you're going to be creating a program similar to the example that I've given you. So what I did is I took this example and I put it right into Visual Studio. So I'm going to go through the assignment requirements and show you where the similarities are in the example. So what this example does, and we'll go ahead and run it so you guys can see. So it displays a little menu. And so we can do a print all. And it prints everything that's in the array list, and it gives us the index number. Okay, and so if we want to delete something, we can do a 3. Enter the index number of the person you want removed. All right, so let's do Mickey. Okay. And so it's the values have been deleted for Mickey. So let's verify that. Let's do a 1 again. And you can see that we just have Minnie and Donald. And let's do an add. How many employees do you wish to add? Well, let's just do 1. Let's see. I'll do Daisy. Employee position, web developer, hours. She's overworked. 75. All right. Let's do a print by index again. Right, so now we have the index numbers. And if we wanted to remove everybody, we could, but I'm just going to quit because I think you guys have the hang of how this works. Okay, so you're going to be doing something similar. And so you are going to be using an array list. In your array list, you basically need 2 different things. Your list is going to be a to-do list. And so you need a description of what it is that you need to complete and how many hours it is going to take you to complete the task. Okay. And the example that I gave you has an employee array list. And there's actually 3 things in there: the name, the title, and the hours. You only are going to be required to have 2 different things. Okay. In your program, you need 2 constant variables. One could be your name, and the other could be the current year or month. In this example, one of mine is the company name, and then the other one is the year. Okay, so you could do something very similar. Whatever you decide to use, you should print out in a heading similar to what was done with the company name and year in the example. So if I run this again, you'll notice that we've got the company name and year. So if I was doing my to-do list, it would say Lisa and maybe Lisa's list and January or February or, whatever month I was doing a to-do list for. Okay. You can decide how often you want to print the heading, but you do need to print using the constants at least 1 time. You're going to create a menu similar to the one in the example, and you should include commands to print by index, add to the list, delete an activity in hours, and delete everything or quit. So your list is going to be very similar to what I have. Okay. And so if we look through the code here, so we've got our constants, we have an array here, we've got a new employee array list, and we have a variable for a menu. I've got a method called print company heading, where I'm passing it the company and year. And if we take a look at, and you'll see print company heading is throughout this program. And so here is the method, and the two values I'm passing are strings. I mean, even though they're constants, they're both strings. And so this is how the heading is getting printed out. Okay, so that's in its own little method. And then I am making a prompt here to make a selection from the menu. And then these escape characters, the /n, is a new line character. So that is why each one of these are on their own line. Okay, and then I am reading in their choice. Okay, so they're going to do a 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, reading that in, storing it in menu. And as long as they do not enter the number 5, okay, because 5 was quit, as long as they don't do a 5, then I'm going to check to see what they have entered. So if they've entered a 1, I'm printing out the heading, and I'm going to print out all the employees. So I'm taking that array list and I'm passing it to a print emp method. So let's take a look at that. So print emp, the data type is an array list. While I'm in this little method, I'm going to call it emp. And you can see I've declared an index, which I've set to 0. And I've got the little heading values by index. Here I've got a little for each. This is my little alias, and you will notice I'm using var here. Okay, and that is because if I'm going to go through the employee list, I've got different data types in there. I've got a string, I've got a number, okay, and so var works really well. And so here I'm writing out index, and then I am taking whatever it is that they give me and I am sending it to string. Okay, so basically I'm converting it to a string, all of it for printing, and then I am just adding 1 to the index so that it goes up each time. So it'll start with a 0, then it'll be a 1, then it'll be a 2, corresponding to the index number where all of the, each of these items is stored. Okay, and so once it's done, it's going to return. Okay, and then it's just going to fall out of this nested if-else loop to the bottom here, where it's going to print out the company name and print out the menu again. If they pick a 2 from the menu, 2 was add. So again, it's going to print out the headings. And so we're going to call add emp, and you'll see that's another little method that is going to add an employee. It's going to return an array list, which we are going to store here. And if you remember, we created that empty new employee array list right here. Okay, so we've got that little empty list that we're filling in. And then we are using add range to place that new array list into our employee array list. And so you're going to need to do something similar with your to-do list. Okay, so let's take a look at add emp, because you're going to have to add items to your to-do list, and it's going to be very similar. So how many employees do you wish to add? We're allowing more than 1. So here we've got an array list that I'm calling new employees. And then here is the loop to add each employee. So you can see I'm prompting. So what you're going to prompt for is the activity and the amount of time. Okay, and here we're prompting for 3 things, but you're only going to have to do 2. Okay, and so new employees is my array list object dot add, and I'm just adding whatever I've read from the council. Okay, and I'm doing that for each one. The hours is integer, so of course I have to use int.parse. Okay, but basically I'm doing this for each entry, and then when I'm done, I'm going to return it. Okay, so it returns up here. This is where it gets stored, and then this is where it gets added into employees. So you're going to have to basically do the same thing for your to-do list. If they choose a 3, that means delete. So again, we're printing out the headings, enter the index number of the person you want removed. And in this example, the name, title, and hours are going to be removed. In yours, the activity and the hours will have to be removed. Okay, and then we are reading in the index number. And in my example, when they enter the index number for a person, it's the person and the next 2 entries that need to be removed. Okay, and if I run this, I can show you. So if they enter a 0, it's Minnie, the title, and the hours that need to be removed. So that is why I have a count set to 0, and I'm going to stay in here while the count is less than 3 because I need 3 items removed. Okay, and so I'm using the array list object dot remove at, and the index number. And so what happens then, as this is processing, if they entered an index number of 0, the first time through, we're going to go through 3 times. First time through, Minnie gets removed. Okay, well then web developer becomes index 0. So the second time through, web developer is removed, and now 60 is index 0. Okay, so the third time through, 60 gets removed. What you're going to have to do in yours is you're going to have 2 items that need to be removed. So instead of less than 3, you're going to have less than 2. Okay, because you want the current item removed and you also want the next one in the list, which is the hours. Okay, so that's kind of how the delete has to work. If they do a 4, this one is kind of easy. It's just a delete all. So print the headings, use the array list object dot clear, and poof, it's all gone. If they have made any other choice from the menu, it's invalid. So you just display that. And that's pretty much the end of the program. So what you're going to do is almost identical to this. The primary difference is that instead of having 3 related items, you're going to have 2. Okay. So looking through the directions, you're going to do a menu similar to the one in the example. And you pretty much need the exact same commands. Use a while loop to keep displaying the menu until the option quit has been selected. You're going to use a nested if else to process the menu commands, just like the example. Create the following methods. You need to print by index. You need to add. And then you're going to need 2 different deletion methods. If you didn't want to create 2 different methods, okay, and you can see I did not do a method for deleting all. I just included it right here. And you can see that I didn't do a separate method for just deleting 1. I put it right in the menu. And that is okay. If you would prefer to do it that way for deletions, that's okay, because it's not a lot of code. We're talking one line of code here. Okay. So if you want to do your deletions the way that I handled them, that is okay. Let's see. Make sure you test your code so that you can ensure that it works. And then when you're done, you're going to copy and paste that code into the Dropbox. If you have problems or questions, let me know. And I hope you guys have fun with this.